Okay, Jess, this is for you. I'm gonna show you how to do the stitches. So this is how I make my slip knot. How do I make my slip knot? Yep. Put my finger in like that and turn it. No, I don't. Put them in this way, turn it, and then pull through. Okay, so I'm using a size 6mm hook and a worsted weight yarn, which is probably a 4. Let's do a chain of 25. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. I'll also show you how I hold my yarn, because tension is very important when you're crocheting, because it can either make things too tight or too loose, and it'll just take practice, honestly, and then you'll find there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I like to do mine like this. All right, now we're going to do a single stitch. So many times they will say second stitch from the hook. This is your working loop. This never counts as a stitch. This is the first stitch from your hook. This is your second stitch from your hook. So let's do single crochet. When you're doing single crochet, you go into the top of your V stitch. See how that looks like a V? So we're not gonna yarn over, we're gonna go right into it and pull through, yarn over, and pull through. Again, the next one, in the top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. You'll notice that my right hand, which is holding my hook, it usually just controls the hook. Like when I'm moving on to a next stitch, I may grab the worked yarn in my hand to get a better grip on where I want to place my stitch next. But most times it just, oops, I went through, no, that's fine. Most times it just stays on my hook. And you don't want to trip, this is also something. You want to keep your yarn flat when you're working on your chain row, and your chain row will curl. It just does that probably for the first 4 or 5 rows. It just does because it's so thin. So you definitely want to make sure it doesn't turn over. You want it to stay flat with all those V stitches pointing up. Oops. top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Top of the V, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Just keep doing that to the end of your chain row. And I'm pretty sure that you have discovered by now that you want to pull your yarn from the center of the end, you know, the ball of yarn or the skein of yarn that you're working with. So you want to come through there because it's a much smoother pull than if you go from the outside. Then you're kind of always having to move that ball of yarn around. All right, we've got 2 left. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. This is our last one. The knot, you need to just ignore. Sometimes I know if it's a loose knot, it can look like a stitch, but it's not. So we're just going to put our hook in, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now, since we're gonna go ahead and do more single stitches at the end of your row in a single stitch project, you want to chain 1 and turn, because that first stitch right there, your first loop, is going to count as your first stitch. Some patterns just call it a turning chain and it's not used as a stitch, but most of them, if they have you chain up, that's going to be your first stitch. So we're just going to go right through this again, and we're going to go. And here's my favorite part about single stitching. It's so easy. If you pull this apart a little bit, do you see like that hole and that hole and that hole? That's what you're aiming for. You're aiming to get your hook into that little blank spot, that little circle. It's really easy. You just go with the juncture of where the 2 stitches meet. And it just makes it so much easier to find. Look for where they join, right there in the middle. Aim for that. Put your hook through, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Find that hole, yarn over, pull through 2. Find that right between the stitches. This row is so much easier than the first row of single stitches because it has some weight to it, and it's easier to find that little hole right there where the 2 pieces of where the 2 stitches join each other. See, every stitch is bump, 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 right? So it's so easy. I mean, you could look at the top, the V's kind of on the other side, but you are, when you do this, you're going through that V. Every time. You don't have to look for the V in order to get your stitch, in order to get your hook through them, because it lines up perfectly, that top V stitch lines up perfectly with that little tiny spot in between the stitches. And so that makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker. A single stitch is used a lot when you want your material to be tight. And the smaller hook you use, the smaller your stitches will be. So like I actually probably wouldn't use a size 6 hook on this weight. I would probably go down to 5 because I really like to make my stuff tight. I feel like the lines, the pattern lines look so much neater, and you can really see a clear definition in your stitches when you're using like a more decorative stitch, and I like the way that looks. But this size 6 I'm using it just kind of to show you, and the stitches are a little bit looser so that you can see where your spots are, and keep doing that. You know, in the beginning, go ahead and use that. Okay, so you can see now that we're at the end. So you're like, oh my gosh, where's my end at? You know what? It's right here. It's right where these two join. And if you see, there's the V right there at the top. So you're gonna wanna pull that through, yarn over, pull through 2.